Hello and welcome to another video concept series. I am Vibhash Mahalia and today's video we will be discussing about the class 6 history chapter number 11 building paintings and books. This is the last chapter of history of class 6. So let's get started. So chapter number 11 building paintings and books. Marudasamy at the Iron Pillar. Marudasamy was so excited. His brother had propelled his wheelchair all along the dusty, stony path, past the towering Qutub Minar and up the metal ramp. It had been tough, but now he was here, in front of the famous Iron Pillar. It was an unforgettable experience. So now we'll get to know what is Iron Pillar. The Iron Pillar at Mehrauli, Delhi, is a remarkable example of skill of Indian craftspersons. It is made up of iron, 7.2 meter high, and weighs over 3 tons. It was made about 1500 years ago. We know the date because there is an inscription on the pillar mentioning a ruler named Chandra, who probably belonged to the Gupta dynasty. Chandragupta Maurya, they're saying too. What is amazing is the fact that the pillar has not rusted in all these years. So it is not stainless steel, okay? It is a normal iron and it gets rusted very usually, and it is a Delhi where rain is frequent. So the main mesmerizing question is that why is the iron pillar not get rusted? One box is given metallurgy. Ancient Indian metallurgists made major contribution to the metallurgical history of the world. Archaeological excavations have shown that Harappans were master craftsmen and had knowledge of copper metallurgy. They even manufactured bronze by mixing copper and tin. While the Harappans belong to Bronze Age, the successors belong to the Iron Age. Okay, so it means Harappan used bronze, and their successors, being later peoples, use iron. India produced highly advanced iron, forged iron, wrought iron, and cast iron. Okay. Building in brick and stone. The skills of a craftsperson are also apparent in the buildings that have survived, such as stupas. So we learned about stupa in the previous chapters. If you haven't watched the previous few lectures of the classics history, it is on a YouTube channel. Please go and watch that also. The word stupa means a mound, means a round shaped. Okay. While there are several kinds of stupas, round and tall, big and small, these have certain common features. Generally, they are in a small box placed at the center or heart of the stupa. This may contain bodily remains such as teeth, bone, or ashes of the Buddha or his followers, or things they used, as well as precious stones. So what they are saying that these have certain common features. Okay. Generally, there's a small box placed at center. Means at the center of the stupa, there was a small box placed in which the remains of Buddha or his followers or the precious things are stored. Okay. This box, known as a relic casket, so this box in which the bodily remains of Buddha, other preachers were kept, or precious things were kept, was known as a relic casket, was covered with earth, means soil. Later, a layer of mud brick or baked brick was added on the top. And then the dome-like structure was sometimes covered with carved stones or slabs. You can see on the figure that there are stones, baked bricks they have used. Okay. Often a path known as the Pradakshina path was laid around the stupa. So we will learn about this temple architecture in the class 7th. Okay. Was laid around the stupa. This was surrounded with a railing. Entrance to the path was through gateways. Devotees walked around the stupa in a clockwise direction as a mark of devotion. So means that they're describing the internal picture of the stupas. Both railings and gateways were often decorated with sculptures. Find Amravati on map, page number 105. This was a place where a magnificent stupa once existed. Millions of stone carvings for decorating the stupa were made about 2000 years ago. Other buildings were hollowed out of rock to make artificial caves. Some of these were very elaborately decorated with sculptures and painted walls. Some of the earliest Hindu temples were also built at this time. Deities such as Vishnu, Shiva, and Durga were worshipped in these shrines. Meaning of the shrines and the temples are the same. Okay. The most important part of the temple was the room known as Garbhagriha. This was also studied in the class 11th, where the image of the chief deity was placed. It was here that priests performed rituals and devotees of her worship the deity. So you can understand the Garbhagriha from the today's temple, like the place of the temple where the sculpture of the main god is kept. Okay, so in a temple where the sculpture of the main god was kept, that place is known as Garbhagriha. So the top this picture is of great stupa at Sanchi, Madhya Pradesh. Stupa like this once were built over several centuries, while the brick mound probably dates to the time of Ashoka. Okay, the railing and the gateways were added during the time of later rulers. So this is the gate and this is the railing. Okay, left, at the left, this is sculpture from Amravati. Look at the picture and describe what you see. So there are elephants. Okay, here some women are there and some men for trying. So this picture is showing that the birth of the Buddha. When Buddha was born, they are showing that everyone trying to touch Buddha with his or her hands. Okay, now top and early temple at the Bhitargaon, Uttar Pradesh. This temple, okay, they built around 1500 years ago and was made of baked bricks and stone. Top right, this picture, a monolithic temple at the Mahabalipuram, Tamil Nadu. Each of these were carved out of huge single piece of stone. That is why they are known as monoliths, means made of one stone. While brick structures are built up of adding layers of bricks from the bottom upward. In this case, the stone cutters had to work from top downwards. List the problems that stone cutters may have faced. You can list them all. Right, this picture is of Durga temple at Ahihole, built about 1400 years ago. Now, often as Bhitargaon, a tower known as the Shikhar was built on the top of Garbhagriha. Shikhar, to mark this out a sacred place. Okay, so Shikhar was made to mark out the special place of Garbhagriha of the temple. So building shikhars required careful planning. Most temples also had a space known as mandap. It was a hall where people could assemble. Find Mahabalipuram and the Ahihole on map 7. Some of the finest stone temples were shown in these towns. So Mahabalipuram is famous for his towns. There's one of the most famous temple in the Mahabalipuram, Shore Temple, Shore, Shore Temple, Mahabalipuram. This was also famous and it is a UNESCO site. So Mahabalipuram is famous for its temples. Now, how were stupas and temples built? There were several stages in building a stupa or temple. Usually kings or queens decided to build these, and it was an expensive affair. First means building the stupas and temple was very expensive for a common man or common citizen of the state to build a temple. So that's why kings or queens made these stupa temples. First, good quality stone had to be found, quarried, means mined, and transported to the place that was often carefully chosen for new building. Here, these rough blocks of stone had to be shaven and carved into the pillars, panels for walls, floors, and ceilings, and then these had to be placed in the precisely right position. So they are telling how these stupas and temples are made. Left, a Jain monastery from Odisha. This 2-story building was carved out of the rock surface. Notice the entrance to the rooms. Jain monks lived and meditated in these rooms. Now below, a sculpture from National Museum, New Delhi. Can you see how some of the cave may have been hollowed out? So they are telling people are trying to make a cave. So this is their weapon. Now, Kings and queens probably spent money from their treasury to pay the craft person who worked to build these splendid structures. Besides, when devotees come to visit the temple or the stupa, they often brought gifts which were used to decorate the buildings. For example, an association of ivory workers paid for one of the beautiful gateways of the Sanchi. So the gateway used at the Sanchi stupa were paid by the association of ivory workers. Among the others who paid for decoration were merchants, farmers, garland makers, perfumers, smiths, and hundred of men and women, who are known only by their names, which were inscribed on the pillars, railings, and walls. So, when you get a chance to visit any of these buildings, remember how several hundreds of people probably worked to construct and decorate them. So, they're telling men and women who are only by their names, who are only known by their names, which were inscribed on the pillars. Means the workers, they were also inscribed on the pillars, railings, and walls. Now, this painting is from Ajanta. So, painting. Fine. So we have studied the first phase of this chapter, buildings. Now we are going to study the paintings. Find Ajanta maps. It is in Maharashtra. This is a place where several caves were hollowed out of the hills over centuries. Most of these were monasteries for Buddhist monks, and some of them are decorated with the paintings. Here are some examples. As the caves are dark inside, most of these paintings were done in the light of torches. The colors, which are vivid even after 1500 years, were made of plants and minerals. The artists who created these splendid works of art remain unknown. So they're telling the artists who made these paintings were unknown. They used the color from the plants and minerals, and as they were dark inside these caves, they used laltane. Okay, a source of light, not torches. The torches were not invented. So source of light they used. So these both of the paintings found from Ajanta. The world of books. Now we are going to study books. Some of the best known epics were written during this period. Epics are grand, long compositions about heroic men. And what are epics? Question can come from here. Epics are grand, long composition about the heroic men and women, include stories about gods. A famous Tamil epic, the Sirapatikaran. This name, Silapatikaram epic, was composed by a poet named Ilango around 1800 years ago. It is the poetry of merchant named Kovalan who lived in Puhar and fell in love with a courtesan named Madhavi, neglecting his wife Kannagi. Later, he and Kannagi left Puhar and went to Madurai, where he was wrongly accused of the theft by the court jeweler of the Pandya king. The king sentenced Kovalan to death. Kannagi, who still loved him, was full of grief and anger at this injustice and destroyed the entire city of Madurai. So there in the story, it's a story given from the extract from the Silapadikaram. Then this table is same. A description from the Silapadikaram. Here is how the poet describes the Kannagi's grief. So they are telling the Kannagi's grief. O witness of my grief, you cannot console me. Is it right that your body, fairer than pure gold, lies unwashed here in the dust? Is it just that in the red glow of the twilight, your handsome chest, framed with a flower with lies thrown down on the bare earth, while I remain alone, helpless, and abandoned to despair? Is there no God? Is there no God in this country? Can there be a God in a land where the sword of the king is used for the murder of innocent strangers? Is there no God? No God. So this is telling how Kannagi, they are describing Kannagi's grief after the Kovalan's sentence to death. Another Tamil epic, the Mani Me Kalai, was composed by Satyanan around 1400 years ago. This describes the story of the daughter of the Kovalan and the Madhavi. These beautiful compositions were lost to scholars for many centuries till the manuscripts were rediscovered about 100 years ago. Other writers such as Kalidas, about whom we read in the chapter number 10, wrote in Sanskrit. A verse from the Meghdut by Kalidas. See how the poet describes a breeze that will carry the cloud northwards. A cool breeze, delightful as it touched, while the fragrance of the earth, swollen by your showers, inhaled deeply by elephants, and caused the wild figs to ripen, will blow gently as you go. Now, recording and preserving old stories. A number of Hindu religious stories that were in the circulation earlier were written down in the same time. These include the Puranas. Purana literally means old. The Puranas contain stories about gods and goddesses such as Vishnu, Shiva, Durga, and Parvati. They also contain details on how they were to be worshipped. Besides, they were accounts about the creation of the world and about the kings. The Puranas were written in simple Sanskrit verse and were meant to be heard by everyone, including women and Shudras who were not allowed to study the Vedas. They were probably recited in the temple by priests and people came to listen to them. So, they are telling how the preserving of the old story were done. So, the Puranas inscription contains the deities and details of how they should be worshipped, and they are written in the Sanskrit language and were recited by the priests of the temple and should be listened by everyone, including women and the Shudra. Two Sanskrit epics, the Mahabharata and the Ramayana, had been popular for a very long time. Some of you may be familiar with these stories. The Mahabharata is about a war fought between the Kauravas and Pandavas, who were cousins. This was war to gain throne of the Kurus. This is a war to gain control of the throne of the Kurus and their capital, Hastinapur. The story itself was an old one, but was written down in the form in which we know it today, about 1500 years ago. Both the Puranas and the Mahabharata are supposed to have compiled by the Vyas. The Bhagavad Gita, about which we have learned in the chapter number 9, was also included in the Mahabharata. The Ramayana is about Ram, a prince of Kaushalya who was sent to exile. His wife Sita was abducted by the king of Lanka named Ravan, and Ram had to fight a battle to get her back. He won and returned to Ayodhya, the capital of Kausala. Sorry, the Ramayana is about Ram, a prince of Kosala. I accidentally take the name of his mother Kaushalya. Sorry, my bad. So this is a prince of Kosala, the capital of Kosala. After his victory, like the Mahabharata, this was an old story that was now written down. Valmiki is recognized as the author of the Sanskrit Ramayana. Stories told by the ordinary people. Ordinary people also told stories, composed poems and songs, sang, danced, and performed the plays. Some of these are preserved in collections of the stories such as the Jatakas and the Panchatantra, famous for the Buddhist stories. Okay, these are famous for the Buddhist stories, which were written down around this time. Stories from the Jatakas were often shown on the railings of the stupa and the paintings in places such as Adanta. Here is one, so they are given one such story. The story of the Monkey King. Once upon a time, there was a great monkey king who lived in the banks of the Gangas in the Himalaya with 80,000 followers. They fed on the fruit of a special mango tree, which were very sweet. Such exquisite mangoes did not grow on the plains. One day, a ripe mango fell into the river and floated all the way to Varanasi. There, the king of the city, who was bathing in the river, found it and was amazed when he tasted it. He asked the first of his kingdom whether they could find the tree for him, and they led him all the way to Himalayas. There, the king and his courtiers had their fill of mango. At night, the king discovered that monkeys were also feasting on the fruit and decided to kill him. However, the king of the monkeys worked out a plan to save his followers. They broke off the branches of the mango tree and tied them to form a bridge across the river and held one onto one end till all his followers crossed over. Exhausted with the effort, he fell down and lay dying. The human king saw what had happened and tried unsuccessfully to revive the monkey. When he died, the king mourned his death and paid him full respect. This story is from the shown of a piece of sculpture found from a stupa at Bharat in central India. So, these are the kings. These are the monkeys, and they have formed the bridge. Now, so they had saved all the monkeys, but the Monkey King himself died, and then the Human King paid him full respect. Now, writing books on science. This was also the time when Aryabhatta, a mathematician and astronomer, wrote a book in Sanskrit known as Aryabhatiyan. He stated that the day and night were caused by the rotation of the earth on its axis, even though it seems as if the sun is rising and settling every day. He developed a scientific explanation for the eclipse as well. He also found a way of calculating the circumference of a circle, which is nearly as accurate as the formula we use today. Varahamihara, Brahmagupta, and Bhaskaracharya were some other mathematicians and astronomers who have made several discoveries. So, this was also time when the books on the science were also written by Aryabhatta. He told everyone about the rotation of the earth, about the eclipse, as well as the measuring the circumference circle formula. While numerals had been used earlier, mathematicians in India now invented a special symbol for zero. The system of counting was adapted by the Arabs and then spread to Europe. It continues to be in use throughout the world. Ayurveda is a well-known system of health science that developed in ancient India. The two famous practitioners of Ayurveda in ancient were Charaka, 1st and 2nd centuries, and Shushruta, 4th century. Charak Samhita, written by Charak, is a remarkable book on medicine. In his treatise Shushruta Samhita, Shushruta speaks of the elaborate surgical procedures. So Shushruta is also called the father of India's surgeries. Okay. Now, some important dates. Beginning of the Stupa building 2000 years ago. Amravati 2000 years ago. Kalidas 1600 years ago. Iron Pillar temples at the Bhitargaon paintings at Ajanta. Aryabhatta 1500 years ago, and Durga temple 1400 years ago. Now there is matching. Super circular path around the stupa? No. Place where the image of the deity is installed is Garbhagriha. Next. Pradakshina path, circular path around the stupa. Place in where the people could assemble. Mandap is the place where people assemble. Okay. And stupa means mound. Stupa means mound. Shikhar means circular path around the stupa, or Shikha means tower. Yes, Shikha means tower. The Pradakshina path means the circular path around the stupa. So now, fill in the blanks. Dash was a great astronomer, Aryabhatta. Okay, Aryabhatta. You can write it on yourself. I'm just telling the answers. Aryabhatta is the great astronomer. Now, story about the gods and goddesses are found in Dash. This one you have to tell. This is very easy. The Dash is recognized as the author of the Sanskrit Ramayana, Valmiki. Dash and Dash are two Tamil epics. One is Silapadikaran, and second you have to tell me the answer in the comments. Now, thank you for watching this video. Please answer the questions of exercise in the comment sections. Of the question answer, you have to tell in the comment section only. And if you have any questions regarding this lecture, please ask them in comments. And I have also given some extra questions for this chapter in the description box. Please go and check out them and try to solve them. Like and share this video and subscribe to our channel. Thank you and have a wonderful day ahead.